We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football, including defensive coordinators being fired, because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-going channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to donate, support this show through a donation to help us keep the lights on. Hit that $ comment. We'll get to your comment as soon as we can. Welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be a PATC legend. With your phone calls, in the chat, with your comments. Holy smokes. Wild Week 10 breaking news. Just a little bit ago, Alex Grinch, the defensive coordinator of the USC Trojans, gets fired. Finally gets fired. Brett McMurphy, USC defensive coordinator Alex Grinch has been fired. D-line coach Sean Nua and inside linebacker coach Brian Odom will serve as interim co-defensive coordinators. Alex Grinch finally gets fired. The USC's defense has been as bad a defense of a major perennial blue blood college football program that I have ever seen. This is good news for USC Trojan fans. This is good news. This is what they're singing right now in Southern California.
Hallelujah,
Finally, the USC Trojan fans have something to cheer about. Too bad. Caleb Williams has lost 6 games since transferring to USC. Too bad this did not happen earlier. In those defeats, USC's offense is averaging 34 points per game. Caleb Williams, very, very, very likely going to the NFL draft next spring. What just an incredible college football career at USC. Won the Heisman last year. No defense. No defense at USC. They lose to Washington 52-42. Game in, game out, game in, game out. It did not matter. The offensive level of competition that USC was going against, that offense would score at will. Alex Grinch finally gets fired. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean going forward? Does that mean Lincoln Riley might stay next year, might not go to the NFL? I was thinking maybe they wouldn't fire Alex Grinch because, Lincoln Riley's going to be taken off next year. Why would he do that now? Did he get pressured to fire Alex Grinch now? He probably did. I mean, this has been a catastrophe. Absolute catastrophe. USC going in the Big Ten next year, yeah, you can say that a lot of offenses in the Big Ten are not very good, and you would be absolutely correct. But USC is going to get pushed around next year in the Big Ten. They had to make a change. It's been the recruiting, it's been everything on the defensive side of the ball for the USC Trojans. Does the firing, my question to the PATC community, you know what? Let me put up a poll question. We've got a lot to get to. We've got the defensive coordinator situation at USC. We've got to go to our picks against the spread. And guess what? The PATC community, for the first time this year, has taken the lead against the fat guy from Minnesota. We both had a good week, but you had a better week. So congratulations. We'll get to that in a second. The conference races are heating up. University of Michigan president, sends out a letter. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the Athletic article that came out in Michigan today. There is so much to get through here in this monologue. I'll get to your comments and phone calls as soon as possible. And if you want me to get to your comment as soon as possible, put down a donation, help this show. Otherwise, we'll wait until later because there's so much to get through. So much to get through. Big games, wild games. Kansas State, Texas wins in overtime. Oklahoma State comes back and they're singing the Taylor Swift song as the fans leave the stadium. Ohio State wins kind of an ugly one against Rutgers. Go on, and it was wild. It was my Gophers lose in a heartbreak fashion. If Alex Grinch can get fired as the defensive coordinator for the USC Trojans, finally, then Rob Wagner can get fired, the special teams of Minnesota. The first play of the game's a kickoff to Minnesota, and we got Sean Tyler returning it. Sean Tyler is a transfer from Western Michigan. 2 years in a row, over 1,000 yards rushing. We bring him in, and all he has done is fumbled through camp. Then early in the season, every time we put him out there, he fumbles. He's lost the starting position. We got 2 freshmen that are running wild, but they're both injured. We bring 4th string running back Jordan Newman, who ran over 200 yards last week. This Sean Tyler is supposed to be a starting running back, but he can't hang on to the ball. So what do? our special teams coach, for the 7th year in a row, Minnesota special teams is abysmal. He doesn't fair catch it. Why he's back there in the first place, nobody knows. He hasn't been returning kicks all year. He returns it. Gophers fumble. Illinois scores a touchdown. Illinois 7-0 before any of us can even grab onto our beer and take a drink. So if Alex Grinch can get fired, if Brian Ferentz can be dismissed by the athletic director, why can't Rob Wagner get the exit out of the door, out of the University of Minnesota? Why? Anyways, let me get back to, and this is a national college football YouTube channel. Thank you, Son of Sick. I bet the Trojan fans have a simultaneous look of satisfaction and disappointment. The same look I have on my face after I lay the smack down on myself on a lonely Friday night. Okay. Son of Sick, thank you so much for the...
Oh my God!
Thank you so much for the generosity. Thank you so much for being a part of the PATC community. Appreciate your comments. And again, thank you for your super chat. That's the only way we stay alive is through your super chats. Thank you so very much. I can't really comment on the lonely Friday nights. I can comment on the Saturday nights when I'm going to bed and my head hits the cold pillow and tears start running down my face because of the Gophers. But we won't talk about that either. The Trojan fans, yeah, you're right. Disappointment because they had the quarterback. They had the offensive tools. They had the skill positions. They can't even get to the Pac-12 championship game. Caleb Williams. And they couldn't do it because the defense has been so bad. Unbelievably bad. You're right, Son of Sir. Thanks once again for your super chat. Appreciate it. Craig, what's your thoughts on the Bedlam game? Holy smokes. That's my thoughts. Ollie Gordon went down early. I thought he was injured. He's on the gun. He gets back up. The game, it's too bad that game's going away now. It is. Oklahoma State is such a story this year. You know what I think about when I think about Oklahoma State? As they drive towards getting to a New Year's Bowl. If this was going on next year, or if this was going on in the expanded college football playoffs, the storyline would be Oklahoma State driving towards the playoffs. They have a chance to get to the playoffs. Instead of Oklahoma State losing 2 games early, they're making a remarkable comeback. It's still going to be a good year. Again, I love the expanded playoffs. I'm a big supporter of it. This is just another Oklahoma State Cowboys of 2023 is just another example of it. Devin Brown to the Gophers will do it. Look, I don't want to turn this into a Gophers show. At the end of the show, I got a few more things to say. But this is a national college football show. You did not come here to listen to me cry. I have so many reasons to cry. Let's get to it. Let's first just go quickly through our predictions this week. Greg the Cooler going into this week was 30 wins, 39 losses, 2 ties. The PATC community was 29 wins, 40 losses, 2 ties. You guys were 1 game behind me. Not anymore. The Michigan-Purdue game. I took Michigan. I get the L. You guys took Purdue. You get the W. Notre Dame, Clemson. We both took Notre Dame. We both took the L. Kansas State, Texas. We both took Kansas State. We both get the W. Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. We both took the Cowboys. We both took the W. Missouri, Georgia. I have Georgia. I get the L. The PATC community takes Mizzou. Mizzou, PATC community gets the W. We both took Louisville. We both get the W. Kansas, Iowa State. We both took Kansas. We both get the W. It's the first time I've ever won in a selection when Kansas was in the game, either going against them or going for them. Washington, USC. We both took Washington. We both take the W. LSU, Alabama. We both took LSU. We both get the L. I went 5-4. PATC community went 7-2. What does that mean? That means my record for the year is 35, 43-2. PATC community is 36, 42-2. The PATC community is one game ahead of me, so I lose again. Some more bad news coming my way. So we're going to put that away. We're not going to talk about that anymore on this live show. First of all, let me thank everybody for coming on in today. And then we're going to get to some more stories. Alex Grinch, defensive coordinator, USC's been fired. What does that mean for Lincoln Riley? Is that an indication that he's thinking about coming back, or he's going to be leaving to the NFL, or does this story not give any indication whatsoever? Who could be USC's new defensive coordinator next year? Again, largely depends on who's going to be the head coach next year. Of course, Lincoln Riley coming back, no question about it. I mean, the door is open for him to come back, no question about it. But is he going to be taking an NFL job? In fact, before we go on to the next story, let me just put it up as a poll right now. Does Lincoln Riley come back to USC next year? Yes, he comes back. No, he doesn't. The voting starts now. The voting is going on. I'm going to give it 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bam! 52% says yes. The community believes that Lincoln Riley is coming back to USC, but it's very, very close. We'll keep a note of that. PATC community, very close vote. Very close vote. Okay. Okay. Matt says, to be fair, Greg, you had that Michigan line until the last play. Yeah, but you know, all that evens out. All that evens out. Those close plays that you beat the spread or you lose the spread, all that evens out. The problem is the games that I lose against the spread by a large margin and the games I win against the spread by a large margin. And my 35-43-2 record says, yeah, I'm not close. I am not close. So I cannot blame. It's not like all the close ones are going against me. I've won a lot of close ones as well. It's the blowouts that are killing me. I'm losing a lot of games, blowout city. I'm not even close. I read it wrong. So PATC community has taken a 1 game lead against me. You guys have taken a 1-game lead against me. Now, let's get into... let me pop this up on my phone as well. Hold on, everybody. Give me a second. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to first show the Michigan's president letter. We're going to go through this. Then we're going to go through some other stuff we got lined up. We're really going to go into the games, the conference races. This is the President Ono Michigan letter to Tony Petitti. And I know it's very difficult for you to see it on the screen. There's no way I could get it bigger. So I'm going to read it real quick. Dear Tony, I look forward to our meeting, and I'm writing now to share some of my deeply held beliefs, which I hope can inform our conversation and guide what we do next. None of us wants to be in this situation. Well, there is a college football staff that has put us into this situation, right? The University of Michigan takes its compliance obligations seriously. We are committed to ethics, integrity, and fair play. It is at our core and always will be, and that is why I'm so deeply concerned about the allegations. We are fully cooperating with the NCAA in its investigation as it seeks to separate the facts from irresponsible speculation seen in much of the public and social media discourse. It's precisely at these times when all key facts are not known, but others are all too comfortable offering strongly held opinion. That's the term I use, my strongly held opinion. President Ono used to follow me, by the way, on Twitter when he was the Cincinnati president. He doesn't follow me anymore. Anyways, it's precisely these times when all key facts are not known, but others are all too comfortable offering strongly held opinion. That is essential for everyone to ensure that investigations are concluded fairly and that conclusions are based on what actually happened. The reputation and livelihood of coaches, student programs cannot be sacrificed to rush to judgment. And I've got a strongly held opinion on what President Ono just said. I'm going to get to in a second. The reputation of livelihoods of coaches, student programs cannot be sacrificed and rushed to judgment, no matter how many or how loudly people protest otherwise. Due process matters. Here at Peek Around the Corner, we agree. Due process matters. We, as would any members of the Big Ten, deserve nothing less. Our student, our coaches, our program are entitled to a fair, deliberate, thoughtful process. We are aware that other representatives of the Big Ten are demanding that you take action now before any meaningful investigation and full consideration of all the evidence. That is not something our conference rules permit. And we both know it is not what any other member would want if allegations were raised against their people or programs. The Big Ten has not informed us of any investigation of its own, as would be required under conference rules. And to be clear, oral updates from NCAA enforcement staff do not and cannot constitute evidence, nor do we think NCAA would ever intend for an oral update to be given that meaning or weight. The best course of action, again, from President Michigan, University of Michigan President, the best course of action, the one far more likely to ascertain the facts, is to wait the results of the NCAA investigation. But if you refuse to let the NCAA investigation process play out, the Big Ten may not take any action against the university or its players or coaches without commencing its own investigation and offering us the opportunity to provide our position. That is not just required by conference rules. It is matter of basic fairness. Okay. let me say a few things here. My first comments, Joe Z, yes, a Grinch-free Christmas, fight on. Joe, congratulations on this news. Breaking news, Defensive Coordinator Alex Grinch has been fired. Now, my off the top comments about the University of President Michigan's Ono's letter to Tony Petitti. The main part of his argument is Michigan, his peoples, he says, deserves due process. Yep, they do. Yep. But due process doesn't have to be a process that drags out. The NCAA is giving information to Tony Petitti. The Big Ten has not officially announced an investigation. They haven't officially told Michigan. They do have to let Michigan know that an investigation has commenced. But it's not like the NCAA. Big Ten can tell Michigan today and have a ruling 5 days from now. There is no appeal process. None. Michigan can state its position. That's fine. So don't mix this up with the NCAA. The Big Ten Commissioner has the authority. He has the authority to give out, under the sportsmanship-like policy, a 2-game suspension to the head coach without any other recourse if the information provided from the NCAA given to Big Ten already constitute a violation. The commissioner believes a violation. A 2-game suspension can be handed out. A lot of people are predicting that's going to happen in the next couple days. We are not. We do not know. The people we talked to have not told us that, or at least any certainty on that. But it can be done. And it would fall in line with due process. Look, let's be square about something. Holy cow. I'm watching the Vikings game here, and the quarterback, Dobbs, just made an incredible run. I'm sorry. But let's be frank about it. Let's be serious about something. The commissioner has already met with the athletic directors at least twice. He's met with the coaches. He's met with the presidents at least once. Probably twice. He's met with the athletic directors twice, coaches once, presidents once, and probably twice, according to public reports. And he's met with the University of Michigan president. Plus, we have reports that the NCAA has given the Big Ten information to the point where the Big Ten notified Michigan State that before Michigan State played Michigan. So this process has been going on. The Big Ten doesn't have an investigation arm. So if and when the Big Ten Commissioner has enough evidence to go by that in-person scouting was done and the head coach should have known about it, even if he wasn't directly involved in it, then he can hammer the 2-game suspension, and due process has been followed. So the president, now we were told Friday night after our live show, Peek Around the Corner. And can't get into who, but and I put out a tweet saying the border regions, some people in the border regions is going to give Jim Harbaugh some problems. So we believe at Peek Around the Corner that Tony Petitti has political cover from 13 other institutions, and that not everything is aligned at Michigan when it comes to supporting Jim Harbaugh. Not even close. Not in the border regions. And the Vikings just scored a touchdown and might have won this game. Holy smokes. Anyways, so that is my, as the things go down the track here, the letter, Michigan letter came out. I believe that was for public consumption for Michigan. The Michigan fans, the donor, yes, we're not going to let Jim Harbaugh get railroaded, due process. The fact of the matter is that the Big Ten commissioner is doing the due process. He's having meetings continuously. He's looking at the evidence from the NCAA. There's not a wall between the NCAA and Big Ten on this. Michigan suspended Connor Stallions, and then he resigned. But they suspended him. Let's get to the Athletic. I want to get through this, then I want to talk about some football games, get to your comments and phone calls. Will Big Ten punish Jim Harbaugh, Michigan football, inside Tony Petitti's dilemma? Ann Arbor, Michigan. I don't go through the whole article. A lot of it is just talking about what we already know. Ann Arbor, Michigan. Before leaving Michigan's post-game news conference, Jim Harbaugh lingered a moment to savor Saturday's victory against Purdue and his performance of quarterback J.J. McCarthy. Man, it's special to watch, Harbaugh said, pounding a fist over his heart. Then he collected his things, walked out to greet his family, followed the athletic director Ward Manuel down a narrow hallway. As Harbaugh left the stadium Saturday night, it was unclear how many more opportunities he will have to coach this particular Michigan team. The Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti was in Ann Arbor on Friday to meet with school officials about the scouting and sign stealing scandal that has infuriated rival schools and put Michigan at the center of a firestorm. The Big Ten initially deferred to the NCAA's investigation of potential rule violations involving Michigan staffer Connor Stallions, who resigned Friday, 2 days ago. But because the NCAA investigation is unlikely to conclude before the season ends, pressure is mounted on Petitti to use his authority as commissioner to levy in-season punishments against the Wolverines. Harbaugh has denied any knowledge of the alleged scouting scheme, but that doesn't necessarily shield him from the punishment. It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. The NCAA can penalize a head coach for rule breaking that happens in his program, whether he knew it or not. And it's fair to wonder if that philosophy will extend to other governing bodies. Big Ten coaches and athletic directors voiced their frustration with Michigan's alleged behavior in calls with Petitti last week and urged him to take action against the Wolverines, with a number of officials believing the suspension of Harbaugh was the most appropriate potential punishment. Everybody's upset, one coach told The Athletic. Why is nothing being done? Now here is the PATC money shot of the article. If Petitti were to act against Michigan, the likeliest penalty is a head coach suspension, multiple sources within the conference said. The NCAA has moved away from penalties that punish players who are not involved in the rule breaking, and it's hard to imagine the Big Ten would impose a postseason ban for the same reason. It is not clear what the length of the potential suspension for Harbaugh would be. School officials in Ann Arbor and elsewhere in the conference expect clarity in the upcoming days. You can read the whole article at The Athletic. Nicole Harbaugh. Now, people believe inside the Big Ten, sources are telling The Athletic, that there's a belief there's going to be clarity in the next few days. Again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The reason why PATC and people I talk to believe there's going to be clarity is because Tony Petitti already has the evidence. Enough evidence. So I think we're going to get clarity. Number two, of course, we don't know what the penalty is going to be. But I want to make it clear, peek around the corner. The commissioner has the ability, on his own authority, to deliver a 2-game suspension to Jim Harbaugh. To Jim Harbaugh. 2-game suspension without needing to have the go-ahead from the Big Ten board, a special committee in the Big Ten. If he wants to go beyond that, then he's going to have to call other people in. But under the sportsmanship-like policy, the commissioner can pan down a 2-game suspension to Jim Harbaugh right now. I've said that a few times on Twitter, and people say, 2-game suspension, head coach, that's not enough. I don't know what the ultimate punishment's going to be for Michigan or for the head coach. But what I'm describing is something that the commissioner has the authority to do right now, if he sees enough evidence. He has the political backing to give Harbaugh a 2-game suspension right now. What other stuff happens? What other stuff pops open? What other stuff, evidence that he has seen that hasn't been reported on? If there's other evidence that hasn't been reported on, the Central Michigan story, we don't know where that's going still today. Then he could get more punishment if there's more evidence. Or he could do it right away. My point is, there's nothing that the president of Michigan said in his comment. Nothing in there. There's nothing that I have seen that would push Tony Petitti away from handing out a 2-game suspension to Jim Harbaugh if the evidence that he's received from the NCAA has matched the reporting of the evidence. And I don't believe that all the reports are wrong. I don't believe there's a smear job. I don't believe there's a great conspiracy. I don't believe that Pete Thamel's a bad dude. Dennis Dodd's a bad dude. Brett McMurphy's a bad dude. Nicole Harbaugh's a bad gal. Go right down the line. I don't believe the Ohio State planted the evidence. I believe Connie Stallions did everything that's been reported, and somebody else had to know about it. And if Jim Harbaugh did not know anything that was going on, with the videos that we have seen, with him taking off the headsets, listening to what Connie Stallions and the offensive coordinator are saying 2 feet away from him, if Jim Harbaugh did not know what was going on, he should get a 2-game suspension, just because that means he's just a bumbling idiot. And I don't think he's an idiot. So, that is the story from The Athletic. Ono's letter. USC's defensive coordinator gets fired. And let me get to the comments right now. I believe that the USC players are not allowed to enter the portal. I believe that's only the head coach. I could be wrong, Matt, but I think that's the rules. very interesting offseason coming up for USC, not just because they're joining the Big Ten, but they might be losing a head coach. He might be going to the NFL, and if he's staying, that whole defensive staff's going to have to be switched out. They're going to have to go to the portal again. They're going to have to beef up. That defense is just terrible. There's not a whole lot of guys on that defense that should be playing Division I football. I mean, this is not a fluke. This is game after game after game after game against poor offenses, against average offenses, against great offenses. They can't stop anybody, ever. AAR, Ohio State Buckeyes hire private investigation. I sure would like to see a full report of that. I see that goes up everywhere. You don't really ever... What's the name of this private investigation? There's really never any meat to that bone on that story. If there was meat on it, I would love to explore it. I would love to have it on this show. But every time I read it, it's all just maybe, possibly there was an investigation that Ryan Day's brother, blah, 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 and it doesn't go anywhere after that. It doesn't seem to be any meat on that bone. I look for the meat on the story. I look for something to chew on. And then if I find meat, I chew on it, chew on it, chew on it. But there just doesn't seem to be anything there. Again, Ryan Brooks, only suspension, weak punishment if that's it. Again, I don't know what the extent of the punishment's going to be if. I have no idea, and I have been quite clear and honest about it. I have no idea. This is unprecedented. In-person scouting. This elaborate, complex, poured money into it, getting 40 different games, tickets. All I'm saying is the commissioner has the authority to hand down a 2-game suspension. Beyond that, he would need to get some approval. That's all I'm saying on it. I'm just looking at it from the side of Tony Petitti shouldn't be allowed to do anything. He can't do anything. Due process. We're going to fight for Jim Harbaugh. The commissioner has the authority to slap down a 2-game suspension like that. If the evidence warrants it. If he believes the evidence. And he's received investigation. NCAA is not putting a wall between them and the Big Ten on this. Got to keep that in mind as well. Tony Petitti has met with everybody around and around and around in the Big Ten. And this whole thing that he has to officially declare an investigation, yes, but there is no time, there is no restriction on Tony. There is no 90 days of notice of allegations in the Big Ten. There is no, we have to give Michigan 7 days to respond. No. It's we've investigated this. He can go up to a 2-game suspension on this. Go ahead and Michigan state your position, but there's no appeal process. I'm just making this perfectly clear, so if something happens tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, that people are clear that the commissioner has the authority to do so. And if he does do it, if he does act, I think he's going to get 13 out of the 14 institutions to support him. I think he has the political cover to do so. And trust me, the social media mob wants way more than 2-game suspension. Probably the coaching staffs, a whole lot of people in the Big Ten want more than a 2-game suspension as well. Because if the reports are true, it's horrific what Jim Harbaugh and Michigan did. So it's not just the social media mob. But will they get more than 2 game suspension? I don't know. Yes, all rumors say the athletic directors are on board with the commission handing out a suspension, so there must be a lot of evidence. I don't know what the evidence Tony Petitti has, but it was enough for him to talk to athletic directors twice, coaches once, presidents once, possibly presidents twice. It's enough for him to talk to the University of Michigan. So he's received something, right? The athletic directors have, in the last live show that I did, yes, in the last report, I believe it was from Yahoo Sports, the athletic directors have said we will support whatever punishment you hand out Tony Petitti. And Tony Petitti, without getting any input from the Big Ten board, he can give out a 2 game suspension to Jim Harbaugh. And by the way, Ted, congratulations on the Fighting Illini. Once again, defeating my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers as Brett Bielema runs. Yes, Brett Bielema running. Yes, Brett Bielema running. Running circles around the Minnesota Golden Gophers. 10-0 in his lifetime against Minnesota. As the Gophers take another one into the heart. Into the heart. Oh, that hurt. Let me open up the phone lines. If anyone wants to call in, 763-260-1333, phone lines are open. We're going to talk college football. Just an amazing week of action. Amazing week of action. Let's go through the top 25 scores. Top 25 scores. Ohio State struggled early. Pulled away. Rutgers 35-16. Georgia had a very close game, 30-21. Missouri was down 27-21. Quarterback Cook goes back to pass, throws it into the defensive tackle of Georgia right in his midsection. Georgia intercepts it. They win 30-21. Close game. Missouri's got a very good team. Missouri's got a very good football team. They're going to be a tough team. Brady Cook, a little bit off yesterday. So is everybody playing against Georgia. Cody Schrader, good game. Luther Burden had 1 touchdown. Only 3 catches. The great wide receiver, Missouri. Missouri has a very good team. They're going to be a tough out in the bowl game. And again, if we had the expanded playoffs this year, Missouri could be that fourth SEC team to make the expanded playoffs, right? We would be talking about Missouri, Oklahoma State. You could pile up those teams. Who's going to get the 5th at large? Who's going to get the 6th at large bid? This game would almost help Missouri, even though they lost. But now, Missouri's going to get to a really good bowl game, probably miss out at a New Year's Bowl. But if it was the expanded playoffs, we'd be talking about Missouri still for the last 3 weeks of the season. Michigan 41, Purdue 13, Florida State 24, Pittsburgh 7, Washington defeats USC, and that was our number 1 story of the day. Alex Grinch, finally the defensive coordinator of the USC Trojans, gets fired. USC defense can't stop anybody. Oregon goes big. Bo Nix Bo Nix. Bo Nix. 63-19 California. Bo Nix is getting back into the Heisman race. Yes, he is. Texas, 33-30, blows a big lead, wins it in overtime. The Longhorns stay at top of the Big 12. LSU cannot get it done against Alabama. Alabama, 42-28. Milroe is now humming along at Alabama. Woo! Alabama's got a shot against Georgia all of a sudden, right? Let's go over some other games here real quick. Duke, we know about that Thursday game. Friday, Boston College wins. We know about Florida State. Louisville takes a big win, 34-3, as Louisville are sitting there ready to get into the ACC championship game. If they do so, what a job by Jeff Brohm. Clemson 31, Notre Dame 23. Let me take this time here. I want to take a little bit of time on Notre Dame. I want to take just a little bit of time on Notre Dame. There's been a lot of, I love listening to John Edwards from Always Irish. One of the best college football YouTube channels out there, if not the best. The guy wears the emotion on his sleeve. Mr. Notre Dame, I call him. There's been a lot of discussion of, you know what, going to the transfer portal, getting Sam Hartman, that didn't work out. Looks like we probably shouldn't go down that pathway again. It would be nice if we could all just recruit high school quarterbacks, develop them, and they become first, second, third, fourth round draft picks in the NFL once they leave college football. That'd be great. It doesn't happen to most of us. It should happen to Notre Dame, but for whatever reason, their high school recruiting of quarterbacks doesn't turn out very good. But let me get back to Sam Hartman. He hasn't had, it's hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. It hasn't been good. The offensive coordinator, Gerald Parker, has not worked out for Notre Dame. But you know what Notre Dame's real problem is on offense? And it's been this way for years. And it's especially telling, well, last year it was, and this year it is that wide receiver room is so weak. The skill position at the wide receiver, Notre Dame does not have good wide receivers. I'm sorry. We talked about it in the offseason. We said hopefully a couple of these freshmen can get up to speed, explode for Notre Dame in their first year, because the guys with experience, they're not good. Notre Dame's wide receivers are not good. They don't create separation. Even when Sam Hartman, or the year before with Drew Pine and Buckner, whatever, if they do catch the ball, the defender's always right there. They create no separation. They can't take the cap off the defense. The defenses against Notre Dame are never back on their heels. They're always going forward. They have no explosion in the skill position. They always have good tight ends. I'm talking the wide receivers. Notre Dame, for whatever reason, cannot recruit wide receivers. Or wide receivers don't want to go to Notre Dame, or they don't develop them, or it's all the above. That is what's killing Notre Dame. Literally, their wide receiver room is of a middling Power 5 program. Nothing special. So when they go up against the top teams they don't fear the wide receivers. They crowd the line. You have a great running back, but He had 3 carries for 5 yards in the second half. The teams start crowding. They start putting people in the box because there's no explosion in the wide receiver room. That is my Notre Dame's opinion on what's going wrong at Notre Dame. Let me know how wrong I got it in your comment section or your phone calls. Who's my 4 playoff teams as of right now? Well, that's a great question. Now, if the phone lines are open, 763-260-1333. If anyone wants to call in, give me your playoff teams right now. Now, obviously, I got to stick with my prediction before the season. Washington, Florida State, Georgia, and Penn State. Now, I need a miracle with Penn State. So, I need them to beat Michigan. I need a miracle. I got to stick with that. Those were my predictions before the season. And 3 out of 4 look good. And when I took Washington, they were not favored to win the Pac-12 championship, not from the media poll, Pac-12 media poll. Florida State, hardly anybody had them in the playoffs. But I got Florida State, I got Washington, I got Georgia. And it looks like the Penn State one is going to kill me. Washington still has they all have a long ways to go. No question about it. No question about it. Greg, the Gophers are killing me again. Okay, let's talk the Gophers, Tony. Let's talk the Gophers. Oh. Special teams, I already talked about it on the show. You put Sean Tyler out there to return the opening kickoff. He fumbles the ball. Illinois goes up a quick 7. Minnesota has no room for error. All those teams are exactly the same level of talent, competition. But our special teams is so especially bad. We give up points every week. We can't do that. Rob Wagner has to get fired. Alex Grinch was fired today. Why not Rob Wagner? Why not? Number 2. Unfortunately, I like the young man. It wasn't his fault necessarily that we lost. The quarterback, Ethan Kaliak-Manis. I'm not putting the blame on him. However, I got to shoot it straight here at Peek Around the Corner. In my opinion, he's not it. He can't be the guy. Do we have somebody better on the roster? No. Does it look like we're going to have somebody better on the roster next year? No. Unless you want to play true freshman Drake Lindsay, if he gets up here. He's having an incredible year in the high school in Arkansas. His father's a former Vikings running back. Is he going to get it up? Are we going to get him signed? Or is he going to be stolen? I don't know. But I think the Gophers need to go into the transfer portal just to get somebody to compete with Ethan Kaliak-Manis. Passing efficiency, NCAA ratings going into Saturday's game, yesterday's game, from the 113 quarterbacks who've had enough passing attempts to qualify in the rankings, Ethan Kaliak-Manis was ranked 109 out of 113. 109 out of 113 in passing efficiency. And the four quarterbacks that were ranked below him, none of them were Power 5 quarterbacks. So Ethan Kaliak-Manis was last in quarterback efficiency. So the Gophers have a quarterback that's last in quarterback efficiency, horrific special teams, and our star freshman running backs can't stay on the field. And plus our back 7 wasn't good enough to compete this year anyways. Anytime we go against a quarterback that has a pulse, they get crushed. And I told you, Tony, in the offseason, and it wasn't just you, it was a whole lot of Gopher fans giving me a hard time. We were not ready. Our back seven, it wasn't going to be good enough. It wasn't going to be good enough. We lost Beanie Bishop to West Virginia. We lost a linebacker. We lost guys who should be starting. And we did not have the ability to fill in the holes. So we are a 6-6 team, playing like a 6-6 team. We're going to finish 6-6. And next year, how many Big Ten teams are going to be rated below, predict to finish below the Minnesota Golden Gophers? Out of 18 teams. I'm guessing 3, maybe 4. So the Gophers are going to pick to come in 15th or 14th in most of the off-season magazines and predictions. So buckle up, Tony. It's going to be... We're going to be slipping and a sliding here. We're going to be slipping and a sliding. And they lost 2 defensive linemen to Kansas. We just lost too much. We lost too much. We just lost too much. You can't lose all that. Swaim, it was a great game. Fantastic. It was dramatic. The fans were singing the Taylor Swift song. And don't ask me to sing it. When they were leaving the stadium, it was something else. I, as a person outside of the Bedlam game, I'm sorry to see it go. I am very, very... I understand why it's going away. I just wish it wasn't going away. Just like the backyard brawl, just like the Civil War, if that is going away, I don't even know. But it doesn't sit well with me. But yeah, the Sooner fans are complaining about the referees, and I didn't watch the whole game. Obviously, I'm watching 1,000 games at once. Oklahoma. I talked about how Notre Dame, for whatever reason, cannot recruit wide receivers. They can't recruit wide receivers. They can't develop them. Not in the last so many years. Oklahoma Sooners cannot recruit and develop secondary guys, cornerbacks. I don't know. They're always going for the small guys. This is with Lincoln Riley, now Brent Venables. For a team that good, for a program that good, man, they cannot get that secondary situated. It's a little bit better now than with Alex Grinch and Lincoln Riley, but still, it is not elite. When I saw Ollie Gordon go down, man, I was like, uh-oh, he got back up. He got back up. So congratulations, Swaim, to the Cowboys. One of the games I got right this week. Skoducky, it's been reported now that the Civil War may be back on next year, to be determined. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Skoducky, for that information. Appreciate it. The SEC isn't that strong right now. Texas and Oklahoma may have picked the right time to join. We'll see. We'll see. Now I know there's rumors about Arch Manning already transferring. I don't think he's going to transfer. But there's little percolation out there. Little percolation. Ted, there'll be plenty of quarterbacks in the portal, but some coaches don't like to dabble in the pool. And I get it. You want to recruit. You want to develop. You want that quarterback to have hopefully the same offensive coordinator, learn the system, have more than 1 year to learn the system. I get it. But Minnesota needs to go in the quarterback portal. We do. Even if it isn't someone that's going to automatically replace the Greek rifle. We need competition in that room. I'm telling you, I predicted Minnesota to go 6-6 this year. I think I'm going to nail it. And next year, I'm looking at 5-7, 4-8. Man, I'm going to get everybody mad at me. Everybody in the chat probably mad at me. I don't know. I think he is going to take over after years. I don't think Malik Murphy's going to be the guy. We'll see. We'll see. If he goes in the transfer portal, wow. There's going to be a lot of interest. Again, the phone line is open. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. Talk about anything college football. The big story of this afternoon, defensive coordinator, USC Alex Grinch has been fired. Last weekend, it was the offensive coordinator of the Iowa Hawkeyes. This week, it's the defensive coordinator of the USC Trojans. Next week, it's going to be the special teams of the Minnesota. No, it's not. No, I'm not that lucky. I'm not that lucky. I'm not that lucky. Architect. But thinking about you following Minnesota's tough loss to Illinois, Greg. Thank you, the architect. Can I just put my emotions into just a small little condensed egg for you all? I live in Loserville City, and I am the mayor. Does everybody understand what I just said? That's how I feel. That's how I feel. At the end of the day, at the end of the long road, no matter how much emotion, no matter how hard we cheer, no matter how many t-shirts we buy, no matter what we do, Minnesota, we're going to lose. Look at our professional teams. Look at what city has the last champion. Look how many professional teams we have, and none of them can do anything.
Call from
JD.
JD, the floor is wide open. Thank you, sir, for calling. What do you got to say?
How you doing, sir?
Not good. Not good. Disappointed.
Not good.
But I'm holding up. I cried a lot in my pillow last night, but I'm trying to recover.
Well, as Noel fans, we were frustrated, but we knew kind of going into the game, we knew Johnny Wilson was out for the game. We didn't realize Keon Coleman was going to be out too.
Yeah.
And Hakeem Williams and 3 or 4 other significant contributors. And then it was just one of those kind of games. Never really in doubt, but just one of those kind of games.
Is Johnny Wilson okay? That's 2 games in a row now. What's going on there?
He could probably play, but they really when he went down probably, I'm guessing 4 weeks ago, they were talking about it was a lower body injury, but I think it might have been a concussion. And then he was out a couple of games. Then he came back, was having a great game. Then he fell and he hit his head hard on the ground.
Okay.
And that was 2 weeks ago. He's been out since. He's been practicing. He didn't play last week, and he wasn't going to play this week. We knew that. You got Miami coming up this next week, so obviously, you just want to just hold him out. But Keon, that's the one we didn't realize.
Yeah.
We didn't realize he. And then there were, like I said, there were other 3 or 4 other significant contributors that just didn't play offensively. So, yeah, when you have, 4th, 5th, whatever string wide receivers out there and you're just trying to force the run, and the one thing Pittsburgh is pretty good at is defending the run. It just Yeah, it was just a little sluggish there for a while, and then finally just started getting it going. But you just kind of have those kind of games. But I was calling about the USC thing.
Yes.
Didn't you feel like you were just watching 7-on-7 last night?
But the thing is, what's so remarkable is, JD, is not Washington scoring 52. Washington can score points on anybody if they get it rolling, right? It's USC does this every single week. It's almost mathematically impossible. Even if you're horrific on defense, somebody's going to have an off day against you. Somebody's going to have a bunch of injuries. Somebody ain't going to be able to, one guy in your offensive line ain't going to be able to block someone on USC. You're going to have a mismatch problem somewhere. But no, every single week, USC's given up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of yards and a whole lot of points. It's unbelievable.
The fact that they rushed 3 for the majority of the game and dropped 8.
Yeah.
They were more or less I mean, I was flipping it back and forth between several games with 3 different games. And every time I was watching, they were rushing 3. They probably blitzed some and they probably rushed 4, but they didn't ever load the box. Not that I saw. And they had such a buffer. Their secondary, the linebackers were dropping back. I mean, I've never, I'm 49 years old with 2 bad knees. I think I'd have scored a touchdown on that defense yesterday, and that's saying something.
Yeah, JD, I got breaking news here on a former Florida State player, Cam Akers, running back, Seminoles, suffers an Achilles injury, gets recovered, goes to the NFL, gets traded to the Vikings sometime here this year, playing good, and unfortunately, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell told reporters that running back Cam Akers suffered an Achilles injury today, his second one. That's terrible. That's just terrible.
Yeah, Cam came in towards the end of Jimbo and then early part of Willie Taggart, and he was one of the few good players around, and he was always just a really good guy. He didn't complain. He just, he just kept plugging along, and he was just a good. With the issues that were going on in the locker room at that time, he was one of the few shining lights. But yes, sir. But yeah, as far as you said, we're talking about the top 4. Ohio State, their quarterback, I'm just really suspicious with him. It seems like the rest of the team. Yeah. So the wide receiver core, the running game, their defense, everything else seems, right. But either I don't watch many of their games, but what I do watch is I watch them just struggle and struggle and struggle to score points. And they couldn't hardly move the ball against Notre Dame, and ACC teams are lighting up Notre Dame. Not even great ACC teams. So, is it him? Is it the play calling? I mean, I don't know.
Well, the Buckeyes. This is not an elite offensive line for the Buckeyes, and everybody knew that in the offseason. They've had horrific injuries at the running back position. They finally got Henderson back and going, but they've lost Williams for the season. Their running backs have been injured. Their wide receivers have been all nicked up. So their skill positions are all nicked up. Their O-line's not elite. And then they have the issue at quarterback. He is not lighting it up. He is not. Now, there's some things going against him, but he's not at the level of the previous. So many Buckeye quarterbacks have gone before him. I don't know if he's going to get there. This is his first year as a starter, but it looks like they have an issue at the quarterback position. So their defense is absolutely elite. Marvin Harrison Jr. could be the Heisman this year. But yes, they are struggling, and that might be a problem in the playoffs or in the championship game, or the game against Michigan at the end of the year. But you're right.
Well, Michigan hasn't been challenged, and as we know, you're going to face adversity on the field, and it's coming shortly. So we'll see what they're made of. They really haven't played anybody that could match up with them physically up to this point.
Yeah.
And then Georgia is starting to be challenged, and they're starting to respond. I think in the top four, the team that's faced the most adversity is FSU. Now there's we've got a few deficiencies. I'm just going to speak honestly. We in last year we could actually, our O-line could set up the run pretty well, and sometimes in pass pro we'd be a little iffy. It's completely the opposite this year. We have to pass to set up the run, and if we're right and Jordan's on, we're going to beat everybody. And I mean that.
Yeah.
Because we have the weapons to do it.
Yeah.
But if you get us into a slow start and everybody just tries to keep the ball away from us, and if we start off slow and we don't get into rhythm, we could lose 2 more games. And you and I have had that discussion before. But there's no team that's just lights out. They have everything. Every single one of these teams has deficiencies. And then last thing, and I'm going to let you go in case somebody else wants to call. The thing about Texas and Oklahoma, their entrance into the SEC, their future success will all depend upon can they recruit linemen. Texas seems to have some pretty big guys on their team.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, the couple times I've watched them, they're a little on the smaller side from what I've seen. I mean, they have a few guys with some size, but there's just not a lot of, size on there. You look at those. I mean, look at Bama's offensive line. Those guys are enormous. I mean, Nick Saban looks like a child walking next to them, and so that's the true test whether or not they're going to be successful. Yeah, you got to get DBs and everything else, but that's the trick for them. If they can get the linemen like they did 10 years ago, 12 years ago, then they'll be successpull. But
Florida State, Puerto Regis meeting this Friday. JD, have you heard anything?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, now the thing you got to remember, we're less than 60 days left in the rest of the year.
Yep.
So even if it's the first quarter of 2024 is just weeks away.
Yes, it is.
So
yes, it is.
So I think there's plenty happening behind the scenes. There's a few of the insiders that are just they're almost talking in code, but they just feel great about where everything stands, and that we're going to know pretty soon that they're moving forward. I mean, there won't be any question about it that they're moving forward, and it'll be known publicly fairly soon. But yeah, like I said, they had an opportunity in the off season when a lot of that smoke started coming out, and then they were making statements that a move could possibly happen soon if things broke loose. But I think the plan was they knew everything was going to start falling into place this season. They were going to get the viewership numbers that they wanted and needed to show that they are a dominant brand still, and that's going to help give them the leverage to open a couple other doors. But anyway, I mean, we talked about all that. I don't have to go into all that again. But yeah, I'd love to hear something. But being that it's Miami week, I don't think we're going to be focusing too much on that.
Yeah.
I mean, not publicly.
Yeah.
But
I don't think so either.
But anyway.
All right, sir.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Appreciate
the
it.
show. Thank you.
Beautiful. Miami, I think Florida State game going to be sneaky good. Last year, Florida State blew them out, and I think this year, Florida State's going to blow them out. Something is, something happened to Tyler Van Dyke. I don't know what happened. He
Call from
Kansas State fan.
Kansas State fan. How you feeling today, sir? Tough loss to Texas. The floor is yours. What do you got to say?
I should have clarified my name. It should have been a Kansas State fan in shambles. Complete shambles.
Sorry, man.
Oh my God! The game was right on the fingertips,
Yeah.
and it just. For what about? Well, I mean, there's a lot to break down with this game, but I'll focus on the overtime and the ending of regulation. I mean, we were. Well, first of all, it took our offensive coordinator an entire half to figure out that our inside run game wasn't working at all. I mean, Texas's defense was a complete brick wall. I mean, once our quarterback, Will Howard, when he was allowed to be just a passer, he erupted for 200-something yards in the second half, and then things just did not pan out on the final drive of regulation, and it's just
Yeah.
that was disappointing. And then overtime was just a different story of its own.
Yeah.
I mean, you had two plays in overtime where you tried to use the QB power, and it did not work out.
Yeah.
And the biggest mistake, well, everybody's been pointing this out, and even Coach Kleiman is not even regretting doing this, but you gotta get the kicker on the field. You gotta let Chris Tennant, our field goal kicker, knock down the 3 points in order to keep this game in pace and not blow it after you were down by so many significant points.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't do that. Yeah, that's just unacceptable. It's a little bit similar to the Alabama game last year in the Sugar Bowl. I mean, that game I was able to understand a little bit because you were there to beat Alabama. You weren't there to remain competitive against Alabama. In the Sugar Bowl, because Nick Saban, of course, he's going to have his team ready to go, in the majority of his games. But Texas was up 27-7 at one point. We managed to come back from 3 possessions. Texas's offense was struggling. They only managed to put 3 points up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And they were stalled in the first overtime just to a field goal. I mean, shoot, if we just got a field goal there and we scored either a field goal or a touchdown on the next overtime, and we could have stalled Texas defense and won. So there was just so many missed opportunities. And the players, like everybody's going to point at that there's going to be a mistake or two that was because of the players. This was solely on the coaching in this contest. I was flaming red hot on Twitter. I mean, the coaches need to be held accountable. I'm not under the spectrum in which they deserve to get fired. No. They just for too long we've seen them make so many terrible coaching decisions on these road games in which K-State's either a favorite or it's expected to be a close game. And it may have all been close games. The reason why we lose small is because the coaches make boneheaded decisions when the game is played and down to the stretch. So, yeah, that's really all I got to say. But,
I got to say, from an outside perspective of it, there's not a whole lot of teams that would have come back to make that a game. I know you're disappointed in the final result, but, man, Kansas State, I'm telling you, from an outside perspective, man, they're tough. They came back. I know they didn't close it out. They had the opportunities. That overtime was a cluster. But for them to come back like they did, to shut down Texas offense there, that was the Kansas State football, man. Big 12 champions. They're not going to be able to defend it, looks like, this year. But that's a real program under Kleiman. And next year should be pretty interesting. Will Howard's coming back next year, right?
We'll see about that because because a lot of focus has been leaning towards our 4-star freshman quarterback, and Avery Johnson, who has been a fun Big 12 rep the past few games. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not Will Howard will play his final year in Manhattan, or if K-State's going to fully focus towards the 4-star QB, and Avery Johnson. I'm not really sure what to make of it right now. I think the coaching, of course the coaching staff is thinking this year, right? Like right now, you got 3 games left in the season. Let's win the last 3 games and make it to a solid bowl game. Maybe get a 10-win season if that's possible. But in terms of next year, I don't think that's gone through the coaches' minds, and quite frankly, I don't think it's gone through any of the K-State fans' minds as well. But I will say, I mean, it was. But you mentioned it. It was a hard-fought comeback. There's another thing that I'm starting to notice as well for Texas. They don't have the killer instinct factor. Like, they're not able to put away teams that easily. They were up 21-0 against Houston prior to halftime, and Houston came all the way back and tied it up. And the same thing kind of applied to the K-State game. They weren't able to pull away. They made several offensive mistakes here and there, turnovers. I don't know. I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on for Texas over the last 3 games of the season, because you got 2 road games coming up, and that's going to be difficult on its own with TCU and Iowa State.
Yeah.
They're going to be their best shot at Texas for sure. But back to K-State. I mean, you were right. It was a hard-fought comeback. You got to give the players a lot of kudos to that, but as a K-State fan, and this kind of applies to everybody on Twitter right now as well, I'm kind of under the assumption that the moral victories are now thrown out the window.
Okay.
I would say that the comeback effort was great, but it was overshadowed. It was completely overshadowed by the coaching decisions in overtime, and that's just not going to pan out, especially when you're a defending conference champion. You got to have more of a. You got to be on your A game through both halves, and maybe I'm setting up too much of a higher expectation for K-State, but I mean, all it is just when you're the haunted team. Well, what's the saying? You were the hunter last year.
Now you're the hunted. Now
yes.
You're the hunted. Yeah.
You're given everybody's best game, and for whatever reason, Texas has always had our number. So I'm sure the coaches knew that. I'm sure K-State knew that. Texas, I mean, actually, that's another thing as well. Texas displayed a lot of talent, especially on the defensive side. But the only reason why Texas continues to own us is because our coaches don't know how to make better decisions, and it costed us last year in Manhattan. It costed us 2 years ago in Austin as well. So I don't know. It's gut wrenching, and especially when you haven't beaten Texas in so long. That was as close as we were to just shocking the college football world. It just didn't pan out, but it is what it is. You can only move forward at this point, but. I do want to touch on this Lincoln Riley not Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch situation.
Yeah.
Quick before I go, I mean, I can't believe that it took this long for USC to finally settle things with Alex Grinch and let him go. I mean, it was absolutely embarrassing. They lost their lure as one of the college football's top programs because of how terrible their defense is. No. And I mean, you had, let's be real, Michael Penix was a Heisman contender. He was going to run all over that Oklahoma defense. They should have gotten rid of Alex Grinch prior to their game against either Notre Dame or Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just how honest if I
probably after the San Jose State game, actually.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, go way before that.
Yeah.
If we're really want to do that as well. You get 45 to Tulane last year, losing the Cotton Bowl is just it's just embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing. But I am very curious to know who the Trojans might be looking towards for defensive coordinator. I heard a rumor. I heard a rumor a few hours ago that Jim Leonard might be on the short list of candidates for USC in terms of a defensive coordinator position, but I'm not 100% sure.
I think he would be a great pickup for USC. USC going into the Big Ten next year. Jim Leonard becoming the defensive coordinator. Perfect match.
And he knows the Big Ten top to bottom.
Yeah.
And if he's able to fill in for USC, maybe we start getting additional recruits that can kind of help restructure and solidify what should be a more stable defense. You know, what the saying goes. Well, actually, no, I take that back. There's plenty of teams in the Big Ten that are able to hold their own on defense. It's really a defensive-built conference with a lot of fantastic defensive line.
Yeah.
And just a lot of guys that, I mean, and this kind of the kind of a Midwest type of feel for football. But you got a lot of linemen who comes from certain areas of the country where, I mean, it's all about hard physical, smash mouth football.
Yeah.
And that's really something Lincoln Riley was not getting when he was trying to recruit into the Southern California markets or Arizona markets.
Yeah.
You're not going to get those tough physical guys down there. So, if they actually lean towards Jim Leonard, if they're able to get several recruits in that are able to really amplify the defensive line, maybe they'll get USC back up and going. But overall, I mean, this is way overdue.
Yes, it is.
Way overdue. And it's going to happen at Oklahoma as well. But but Lincoln Riley left like a thief in the night. So, anyways,
all right, man.
I will continue to cry, and this is a good coping mechanism from one loser from where I'm
Come on. Okay. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Have a good.
All right. Good therapy. That's what we call PATC therapy session. Okay? Just let it all hang out. We talked about in the off season. There's going to be some crying. There's going to be some cheering during PATC, Peek Around the Corner. This is what we do. There's been a lot of crying on this show. I want someone to call in who's not crying. Here we go. Hopefully, this is somebody who is not crying.
Call from
Immaculate.
Yes, Immaculate. He's not crying. Immaculate's not crying. Iowa won. They're the favorites to win the West. They're going to Indianapolis. We got a caller that's not crying. The host is crying. The previous caller's crying. Immaculate's happy. Immaculate, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn because I almost want us to lose a game just so that they'll give that Labatt quarterback guy a shot. It is whatever. I don't know. He must have got caught, like, being a drug mule or something. I don't know. Like, they will just not give that guy a shot. But anyways, congratulations to Iowa for winning 10-7 and completing a pass to their 4-star transfer from Ohio State finally. Finally. I feel bad for that guy the most. But, as you're saying, I mean, if Arch Manning wants to transfer somewhere, why not transfer somewhere where you're going to get the best defense possible?
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, that's okay. We're okay. We just need 14 points out of you.
Yeah.
We get Sean Lewis out of Colorado.
There you go. That whole Sean Lewis thing, that is a weird situation.
It's one of those things where he's pretty much free and clear now to be like, I want to look around. Or maybe someone already reached out to him and they know that, and so they're just trying to figure out what they're going to do next. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they expect of the guy when you don't give him an offensive line. I mean, about the only thing they could have did was keep in a blocker more often. But, I think his idea is you give the quarterback more options. The problem is he has a quarterback that doesn't know how to think straight when he gets pressured. And, Shedur's got an amazing arm, and he's an amazing thrower. He's just not used to being pressured ever.
Yeah.
And so he's pretty bad. I don't know. We'll see about that. But the reason why I'm calling is we're talking in chat, and kind of wanted to see what you think about Louisville as a long shot. I'm going through their schedule and what could happen ahead of them. How wild would it be if Louisville beats Florida State? If Michigan and Ohio State, one of them is going to lose. What if Michigan beats Penn State and then loses to Ohio State? I mean, they're out. Ole Miss plays Georgia next week. They're going to be pushed back. Texas might lose a game here at any point in time. I mean, they've been real close to losing. Bama's ahead of them. They're probably going to lose to Georgia. Probably. Maybe not, but probably. If Washington beats Oregon again, you look at it, the numbers are there. I mean, it could be Georgia, Ohio State, or Michigan, whatever. Georgia, Ohio State, Washington, and Louisville.
You look at I got the standings up on the screen. Florida State 7-0, Louisville 5-1, Georgia Tech 4-2, which is remarkable. Duke 3-2, North Carolina 3-2, Boston College 3-2, North Carolina State 3-2, Virginia Tech 3-2. Now Louisville just defeated Virginia Tech. Let's take a Louisville's rest of their schedule.
They've got Virginia at home,
at Miami, and that's their last two conference games. Then they play Kentucky, Virginia at home, and at Miami. And again, Tyler Van Dyke, he has just dropped off the table. I don't know what's happened to him. He looked bad again Saturday, 3 interceptions. He just has not played good football. And he did not play good football last year. And Miami has the same issue that Notre Dame has. For whatever reason, they've got one and a half decent wide receiver. They just cannot get any explosiveness at the wide receiver position. So Louisville has Miami, which is 2-3, and at home against Virginia. And let me just check one thing here. They lost to Pittsburgh, so they're gonna have tiebreakers against everybody. I think you're right. I think Louisville has a shot, pretty good shot to be 11-1, win that championship game somehow against Florida State, 12-1. You're right, Immaculate.
They've only allowed 3 points total.
Yes.
They shut out Duke and they allowed 3 points yesterday. That's it. They have got a solid defense.
You are correct. If they beat Kentucky at home, at the road in Miami, I mean, still a lot of work to do. But if they go to the ACC championship game and win, that would give them a huge win against a top 4 team, against Kentucky, which is a good team. Wow. I think you're on something again. They beat Notre Dame.
But everyone who's in front of them. Penn State, they lose to Michigan. Ole Miss is going to lose next week. Bama lose to Georgia. Texas will pull a Texas. Oregon might beat Washington. If that happens, I don't know.
Yeah.
Bama might beat Georgia. If that happens, I don't know. And, of course, with the Big Ten situation between those three, with Penn State still being ahead of Louisville, I don't know. But if they were to make it, I don't think that there's even a question. Braum is the coach of the year. Would you?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
To see what Purdue's become without him, and then what Louisville's done within a year. They went from being a mid-team to
Yes,
you know,
you're right.
dark horse good for CFP. I mean, and he's not doing it with, you know, the most talented team out there. I mean, first year, just getting to know the guys, and he's got them playing. You know, they've beat, you know, they beat Notre Dame bad. They beat Notre Dame very handedly.
Yes.
They beat Clemson. They blanked Duke. I mean, they've got some good wins on their belt. So I don't know. I just thought we were all talking about the people saying they didn't have a shot, and looking at their schedule and looking at some of these others going.
No, I think you in the chat room has done a great job of that. Awesome Lawson Clips. Dark horse, baby. Dark horse, baby. Yeah, no, you guys are right. Louisville has been, they're in position. They're in position now once again. If we were talking about the college football playoff, expansion playoffs, right, Louisville would be in great position.
Oh, yeah. If that happens, they're likely in no matter what.
Yeah.
Because they're, you know, even if they lose to Florida State being a high-ranked team, some of these other teams, if they fall out, Louisville should definitely be in the top 12. And most of the teams that are ahead of them are you're going to have conference champions coming out of there. So if you think they make it. So anyways, I didn't really have a whole lot more. The guy getting hurt, I probably should have already happened. But once they became out of the running, that's probably when they decided, okay, that's it. We need to figure out what we're doing.
Before you leave, Immaculate, my 90-year-old mother, my 90-year-old Irish Catholic mother, has always said that things happen in threes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, Brian Ferentz, he's getting let go.
Yeah.
Number two, Alex Grinch gets fired. Next, because things happen in threes, Rob Wagner, Minnesota special teams coach, gets fired.
You really want that one to happen, don't you?
Well, 7 years of this. Did you see how the Minnesota game started?
No, I'm sorry. There was.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Opening kickoff, we fumbled. We had a guy back returning kicks who cannot get on the field as a running back because he fumbles all the time. We had him return in the kickoff. He fumbled. Illinois got it, scored a touchdown. 7-0 within the first 15 seconds of the game. Special teams, bam. Gophers down, 7-0. It's automatic, man. It's automatic. You know what? I don't want to spend any more time on it, but that's what's going to happen. Good things come in threes. It's going to happen.
Hopefully that works out for you.
All right, sir.
It
Appreciate
could be
the call.
Parents, though, so we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Immaculate. Have a good one. Now that's a good idea. That's a good idea, Matt. Ole Miss has 3 Power 5 quarterbacks. Spencer Sanders, does he have any more eligibility? He's been around for a long time, Spencer Sanders.
Call from
Kansas State fan.
Kansas State fan, what's going on, sir?
Sorry, right when I finished with the call, I went back to your live show, and the first thing I saw was Immaculate tweeting out, "Hey, there could be a certain school looking to post your coaching." So I might as well just make it a theme for every show.
Yeah.
Not directly towards Immaculate because the dude is amazing. But Chris Kleiman ain't leaving K-State. He ain't going to Iowa. So, all right, that's my.
You got it. No problem.
That's my message. So, go Cast. Email.
I understand. You got to keep Immaculate in his place. No problem about it. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Now, by this time of the season, usually head coaches are getting fired. I mean, that's just how it works. This is very unusual. So yeah, an offensive coordinator is going to lose his position by the end of the year. Iowa Hawkeyes. Defensive coordinator, USC, got fired. Usually head coaches are getting fired at this point. Pittman, Arkansas head coach, got a big win yesterday. Neil Brown's not losing his job.
Call from
Moen.
Moen, Moen is on the phone. Mr. Buckeye. The Ohio State Buckeyes defeat Rutgers. What's going on, sir?
Well, you know what else came in threes yesterday, Greg? Losses for Notre Dame. Notre Dame lost 3 games, and their fan base is losing their mind.
Yeah, I had a personal message to Notre Dame fans early in the show, and I'm trying to help them through this. Their number one problem, their number one issue, is the recruitment and development, but really the recruitment of wide receivers. Their wide receiver room is weak. It's making Sam Hartman look weak. Their offense gets no explosion. They cannot recruit wide receivers, and they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle next year unless they pick up some in the portal. But anyways, Moen, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The floor is yours. Yes, Notre Dame loses their 3rd game.
Yes, and they are already calling for Marcus Freeman to be fired, for Urban Meyer to be hired. It's quite funny to me how, and I'm sure Jack Swarbrick won't fire Marcus Freeman. I'm certain of that. But will the new AD want his own coach?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to fire him after year 2. But year 3, he'll be on the hot seat.
Right. So who do you think would be number 1 on that list for Notre Dame next year?
For head coach?
Head coach. Because it's not going to get better next year. They just don't have the talent. They're not going to be able to reload the portal. I don't see it. They're going to be a middling team next year as well.
Oh, I really don't know.
Yeah, I think I've said it before. I think Urban Meyer would take that job if they offered him. I think he would take that job.
I don't think Notre Dame is going to be offering Urban Meyer. Just my.
I would say the same thing, but at this point, listening to the fan reactions, the alumni reactions, I think that they want to win more than anything else. I think they've got to the point where it's been long enough they're willing to sacrifice a little integrity to win. They're going to take the Michigan model.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, of course, you know, they got to get a new president, which is going to be, father somebody. They're going to get a new athletic director, or they have a new athletic director. I just don't think they'll take that risk. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think. But then again, I believe, and maybe I'm way off here, but I believe that maybe I'm stuck in my own bubble here. But I think how Urban Meyer acted as the head coach at Jacksonville. I think there's something going. I don't think he can handle the pressure anymore, and I don't think a top level school is gonna go after him. I think if he wants to get back in the game, I think it would be something like a Michigan State. I don't think he's going to Michigan State, but it would be that level of program, not one of the top programs, if he wants to get back in the game. I think he's a big risk, more than even a big reward, because I don't think he can handle it anymore.
I don't know. I think we'll end up seeing, because like I said, I don't see Notre Dame with the talent they currently have, with their recruiting they currently have. Now, they're fortunate the ACC has proven itself this year to be a pretty weak conference. So if the ACC is weak again next year, they'll have a shot. But I just don't know. It's just I spent the better part of yesterday afternoon on Twitter watching Notre Dame fans scream for the head of Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
And their OC, and how terrible Sam Hartman is as a quarterback.
I would give Marcus Freeman. I would definitely give Marcus Freeman one more year, and I don't think the new athletic director's one of his first acts is going to fire Marcus Freeman. So I think he's going to get another year. But one pass I'll give Marcus Freeman is they hired Gerald Parker. This is basically his first year being offensive coordinator. They went after Marcus Freeman wanted the Utah offensive coordinator. And the athletic director, Jack Swarbrick, he balked at it. Remember, it was too much, too high price for Notre Dame to go get him. So Marcus Freeman did not get the guy that he wanted and the person he thought they were going to get, because he invited them to South Bend. They had dinner, or wherever they had dinner. It was a big public thing, and then suddenly Notre Dame could not afford him. So I'm going to give Marcus Freeman a little bit of pass on that. But plus, they don't have the wide receivers. Now, Matt in the chat room said that Notre Dame's wide receivers are freshmen. Well, that's the problem. Their senior and junior wide receivers are not any good. So then they have to rely on the freshmen. And have they shown anything? I don't know. They got to get somebody who can recruit wide receivers. But anyways, go ahead, Moen.
Yeah, I don't. It's going to be hard to get kids to come to Notre Dame anymore. I think with the academics and the NIL.
Yeah.
And like you said, the gentleman Jack Swarbrick isn't going to invest in the athletic department by letting you get a high dollar OC in there. So you're forced to recruit somebody from your own bench.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I think that they self-sabotage by doing things like that. And I think Brian Kelly realized that, got out of there, and he's done better than I think most people expected at LSU. But Marcus Freeman, I don't know. Maybe he's got to win out. If he loses to Stanford and they go down to 4, woo.
Ooh, yeah.
It might be rough. It might be rough. I think they could take Wake Forest, I hope. If they lose to Wake Forest, it's going to be tough.
And then,
especially if they lose that last game to Stanford, that's going to be rough on them. But,
and then
I just didn't want to – I wanted to call and not talk about Ohio State, because Ohio State is not one of the 4 best teams in the country. And I think Notre Dame losing yesterday did us no favors. Outside of that weird pick 6, Rutgers was on cue to probably beat us.
Yeah. One of the and then if you going back to Notre Dame, I haven't hit this story. It was a big story on Friday or Saturday in regards to NCAA and being sued and all this stuff, and we're heading more and more to that professional model where the student athletes are going to get paid, right? Revenue sharing. So again, if you go back to Notre Dame, I mean, if they want to play at the very elite level, they want to be able to compete at the elite level. Notre Dame, even more, how do I say this with all the high academic standards, and they're going to have to go after the top dollar. They're going to have to go out and be in an independent program in this day and age, in this economic environment. The top dollar, they're going to have to be an SEC school or a Big Ten school. they're not going to be able to compete at the highest level revenue sharing as a Big 12 school or an ACC school because they already have some handcuffs on them, which I don't give them any grief over. They're high academic. You can't just go in the portal, jump into Notre Dame without earning the right to with your test scores, with your grades, and that's all fine and good. But that revenue sharing portion of the equation, Notre Dame, I think Mullen is going to make the same decision as Texas and Oklahoma, USC, Oregon, Washington. If there's a spot there, and there definitely is, they're going to jump SEC or Big Ten, probably Big Ten, here shortly. That's just been my strongly held opinion, and I think we're getting there.
We shall see, but I think they're going to come to that determination where, like I said, they're going to have to give up a little if they want to remain relevant within the college football landscape. They can't continue going like they've been going. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say that, Greg.
All right, man.
No future big punishment without Jim Harbaugh getting fired. Let's make that the number 3 in your equation. We'll have Jim Harbaugh getting fired. And then maybe we'll have a little bit of integrity put back into the conference.
Oh, my God. All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Take it easy, Greg.
Yeah, thank you. Gerald McKinley, speaking of revenue, what's the NCAA going to do with that lawsuit they're losing? I don't know. They don't have all that money. What was the total money on that lawsuit? Like $2.4 billion or something? I don't know. I know I have to get into that story, but there's so many stories out there, so many lawsuits, so many this, so many that. It's hard to keep track of it all, and it's all heading down the same track anyway. So talking about it in general terms is probably the best way to talk about it. Normally that's not the case, but it's just so overwhelming. What's going on, what's been going on for the last 30, 40 years, whatever, college football. The courts are ruling over and over and over again, yeah, you can't have this system. It's against the law. So, the NCAA, the leaders, Greg Sankey, they go to Congress and they say, well, let's make it law. Carve us out an exception so the courts can't come down on us. Well, then Congress, some people agree, a lot of people agree. But, Congress, they have a hard time getting together and doing anything, especially as we head toward an election year. So, because there's not a carve-out, here we go. The courts are going to rule against, the NCAA. And the NCAA is formed and funded by the presidents. $4.2 billion. 1.4 to 4.2, only $458 million in NCAA conference. I don't know. It's all pops and buzzes to me at this point, because that there's so many different things going on with that. But anyways, I think we're going to close this live show down. We've been on the air for about 2 hours. The big story, Alex Grinch, the defensive coordinator of USC, has been fired. Finally. What does that mean for USC going forward? Is Lincoln Riley coming back next year? I don't know. I have no idea. But USC finally made the move, and we also have the Michigan story. Is a punishment going to be handed down by Tony Petitti to Jim Harbaugh, a 2-game suspension coming up Monday, coming up Tuesday, coming up Wednesday? We're going to find out, but buckle up, brace for impact. Week 10 is over. PATC has taken the lead over the fat guy from Minnesota. You are one game better than me. You're 36-42-2. I'm 35-43-2. Terrible. Greg the Cooler. Absolutely terrible. As I said earlier in the show, with me losing the lead against the PATC community, with the Minnesota Golden Gophers losing in a heartbreak game, I live in Loserville City and I am the mayor. Before you leave the chat, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell the next time we come up on live, and we can come up at any time. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you are alerted. And before you leave the chat, please smash that like button. It helps us with the algorithm of YouTube so very much. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.